So I'm trying to do a book report again. This one is Lying on the Couch by Irvin D. Yalom. And when you read the back of it, because I'm still reading it, he's a therapist and he wrote a dazzling psychiatric whodunit. I don't know if this is about it, but it's really interesting because he's writing. Now I'm in chapter 2 because I was reading another book at the same time, and it's about different cases and how he got to be a therapist. And I guess the theme of the book so far is misconduct because, well, let me just sum it up. Therapy used to not have any guidelines. When Freud and Jung started out, they were pioneers. So, a long time ago, therapists didn't have any guidelines. So, the borderlines were kind of blurry. I read a book at the time in the 30s, for instance. Sometimes therapists would use unconventional body kind of work, they called it, and they would actually have intimate relations with the patient. I guess based on Freudian ideas, I don't know. But, and of course, Carl Jung had relationships with his patients, some patients, and they became therapists afterwards. So he kind of empowered them somehow. I find that quite dangerous, not only me. I never had the misfortune of having any sort of problems with therapy. I never had therapists that didn't have strict borders, and I think it's so important. But the first story was about a woman who was suing her therapist for that, um, for relations, and it's very surprising ending. I'm not going to spoil it. I guess it's short snippets, and then we moved on to the next one, and it describes a patient who was getting out of a marriage, and his wife, and she cut off all his stuff, and a lot of anger issues, and then it goes back to her youth and how she had abandonment issues, and did the same thing to her boyfriend who abandoned her, and the relationship with her therapist who told her it would be a good idea to sort of take comfort in sexual relations with him. So I don't know how it's going to end, but I think that's the theme of this book is therapy and the lack of borders and therapy in general. I have my misgivings about therapy. I do have a degree in psychology. I am not a psychologist, but I really do like Irvin Yalom. My problem with psychology was always I found therapists to be not that creative, except with the great exception of Carl Jung, who was an extremely creative person. Sometimes I found the ideas in psychology kind of rigid, different. I have my own favorites. I really loved. I am Carl Rogers. I have an American influence, and I like the fact that he saw therapy as a relationship, like sort of where a therapist has to sort of show his client feelings of empathy and friendship, but that's not always possible, of course. And again, the question of borders is very important. This is my best therapist, Sam. I read a long time ago. I read When Nietzsche Wept and Love's Executioner. I did read, he has a lot of books out there. He's a prolific writer, and I like that he incorporates different ideas. So, if you know something about therapy, and even if you don't, it will give you sort of a good background into what therapy is and what it shouldn't be, probably. And it's just a really sort of entertaining, interesting book to read. I don't think you should take it very seriously on the one hand. On the other hand, it does bring in a very important topic. We also had cases every now and then in the paper. You hear of people complaining about therapists using their position to take advantage of their clients. People now tend to call them clients. I don't know. My thoughts about therapy are quite mixed bag. I think if you have a specific issue that can be pinpointed, okay. If you don't, you can spend a lot of money and time. And maybe therapy can help people focus on a particular topic. But if it's not focused on a certain topic, it can be really take a long time and very expensive. And then you have a financial problem, which is also going to bring you psychological problems. This is my best therapist, Sam. We do have some issues with borders. He does like to invade my space, but he is, cats have a good sense of limits. I wanted to say that even though they sometimes can all of a sudden open the door when you're like in the bathroom, cats like to do that. They don't like to see somebody in a closed room, or they come wherever you are, basically. But I think cats actually can teach people about limits because they really have very clear limits. Dogs too, but dogs are not as much as cats. Pets can teach people about limits. If you have a problem with limits, and you get a pet, there's a risk that you can carry that problem over to the pet. So I've seen people with reactive dogs that are not trained, and definitely the dogs probably suffer from the owner not having any borders. I mean, all these people that let the dogs loose in the street and let them do whatever they want, they've got problems with limits in their personal life for sure. However, if you do have to work on borders, pets can help you. And if you have awareness, big stress on awareness. So like Sam, I'm aware of it that, people say horrible things about cats. I think the issue with cats is they're highly sensitive. So if I would pet Sam too much, if I would pet Samuel too much, he would sort of like, what the hell are you doing? Don't touch me too much. Because they are highly sensitive. So you can pet them. I mean, it depends. But Sam, he likes a certain part. But then at one point, I see his tail moving, and then I know it's too much. So right now, Sam is hibernating a bit. They're great for reading books. I mean, my high school, I think I've got matriculation thanks to the cat. The cat would just sit in my lap, and then you can't move, and then you're forced to study. So if you need any work done, you can just... I haven't tried with the computer because the problem is they do tend to... What they do is they snap. He's destroyed a wire recently. He does destroy wires, even though I try to buy black wires. Because with white wires, it's destroyed within a second. He did destroy a wire I bought, a quite expensive one. It was an original Samsung. But I love him, so what do I do? What can I do? I don't know if he's trying to give me a message, doesn't like me being on the phone or taking photos of him. So if I touch him too much, he will say enough is enough. And I think in therapy, one important topic is definitely borders between human beings. So this is a very good book to read. It's fascinating. You really don't get bored. There's so much going on. I personally find it over-sexualized in a way, but then again, so is therapy and the topics that come up in Freud, so forth, even Jung. Really a good reading if you're interested in therapy. This is a really good way of learning more about therapy and relationships. And definitely get a cat as a therapist.